PWNcast.
It's another exciting episode of PWNcast, and fresh off the presses, the Sony press conference of the century of the week. Pat and Matt are off this week, so I'm joined with Derek. Derek, you may know as the one that sounds like he's 11 from the Let's Play Mass Effect 1 videos that I've done. Derek, who are you and what are you doing here?
Before I do that, how long before the Pentagon buys 300 PS4s to make a new supercomputer?
I don't know, ask NASA.
or the Department of Defense. It's gonna be like a giant, like a CIA's like, oh, so you guys have PlayStation 3s as your supercomputer. We've got PlayStation 4s!
Yeah,
like
I can see DARPA now. They've just got like an entire wall of PlayStation 4s.
Be a giant dick measuring contest.
We're blocking China with these.
NSA is gonna have the new Xboxes. Like, well, ours is more powerful.
Okay, since you are new to the podcast, why don't you tell people, normally I have people tell what their primary form of gaming experience that they have, like whether it be the PlayStation 3, the Xbox 360, or even PC. Hey, what do you primarily play your games on?
I play most of my games on my personal computer.
Your personal computer?
Yes, my own personal computer. I started playing games, and I played the Super Nintendo. It was my first gaming platform. Back then, they didn't have...
Back then, it was all 32-bit.
Yeah, it was DOS. You typed in... I remember I wanted to play Doom, or some sort of game, and I always had my brother turn it on, because you had to do the EXE, and then type in... You had a command prompt in. I was too young to figure that out. And I'd be like, Josh, come turn on the game for me, and he would command prompt it, and I would play Doom. And I remember, I believe it was an old Dark Forces game.
Star Wars Dark Forces?
Yeah, it was really old. Really, really old. And
I never knew that Dark Forces was that old, but...
It was, I knew it was a Star Wars game. It was not, it may not have been Dark Forces. It may have been an older Star Wars game.
TIE Fighter.
No, it was a shooter.
Oh, okay.
It shot lasers. But, that and another LucasArts game where you played like a motorcycle guy. And I specifically remember one part where you had to drop cars on a dog, on this like pit bull, and you had to pick up cars with a magnet and drop them on the dog, which sounds horrible in retrospect. But he was a mean dog, and he would like climb out from the cars. Like you drop a car on me, climb out, and you continue to attack you. But then we got this Super Nintendo and this Mario World, Super Mario World, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, dude, played the shit out of that game.
I never got past Hoth.
You never got past Hoth? Dude, you're missing out.
Yeah. I was like, again, I was like 6, so I just hit buttons and jumped.
I got to Cloud City when I was younger. That was about it. I couldn't beat both.
I watched my brother play. Like, I guess a lot of until I became of the age where I was actually decent. I just watched my brother play video games for the longest time. Like I watched him play. And then they Breath of Fire 2. No, Breath of Fire 1. This one was Sarah, right? Jade.
It's been so long since I've played any of the Breath of Fire games.
That was probably, everyone talks about Final Fantasy. I'm always like, I like Breath of Fire. Because I never played a Final Fantasy game unless it was like on the Game Boy Advance when I was older. I played Breath of Fire. And I loved that game a lot. I played a shit ton of that game. And then I remember we got an N64 and we played Shadow of the Empire.
Oh, yes. I remember that game a lot.
And I specifically remember you could blow up AT-ATs by shooting them with a blaster, and it bothered me. Because like, I was shooting them with the cannons on the airspeeder, and I was like, this should not be happening. Okay? Are they retconning this or something? But...
No, I like Shadows of the Empire.
It was a fun game. Yeah, very fun game. Like, yeah, you could get the jetpack, and then you got better weapons, and...
Granted, I tried playing Shadows of the Empire recently, believe it or not, and
awful.
Yeah, them jetpack controls, that's all I gotta say. It's doesn't really hold up that well.
And I'm going to sound real typical, but GoldenEye,
Oh, I think
I still remember the first time I actually watched GoldenEye. My friend brought it over to my brother's house, and he threw a mine on the ground. He's like, watch this. He threw a mine on the ground, and he walked over and blew himself up. And it was so cool, because before then, we'd only had the N64. I don't know when GoldenEye came out compared to when we got the N64, but I remember it wasn't very long until he showed us GoldenEye. I remember that was like my first game love, other than maybe Breath of Fire, because I love that game.
Mhm.
But GoldenEye was the first, like, wow. And then, of course, Ocarina time. That was
that was a big one.
That was it. That was the first, like, that was that first moment in gaming where, in a game where you, like, your jaw dropped when you walked into Hyrule Field. Hyrule Field.
Yeah.
And it was like, wow.
And then that fucking owl.
Yeah, that was annoying. And
Would you like me to repeat that?
And from there, it kind of took off. I in retrospect, again, I kind of wish I'd had a PlayStation, because I realized I'd missed out on a lot of Japanese titles and a lot of cool things that I never got to play because
Like
I didn't
Breath of
have.
Fire 4.
And Metal Gear Solid and
Any of the Final Fantasies, really.
any names I can't name that I've seen that, like, you know, I want to say Shadow of the Colossus, but I'm pretty sure that was PlayStation 2.
Yes, PlayStation
But
2.
just that whole genre I missed. And then we can fast forward to getting the Xbox. And oh, mind you, this whole time I've had a computer. Like, I play Warcraft 2, Warcraft 3, Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. I remember you could make your own roller coaster, and there was one that shot out and did like a loop. It would go up and then come back down, and you could make the thrusters go really fast to where you would shoot the roller coaster cars off the track and it would blow up. And I would invite a bunch of people to ride the ride, and I would murder them all. And in this game, there was no government to investigate me, so I got away with murder all the time. But that was a fun game. Medieval Total War, Rome Total War. I think Rome Total War was another game where it was like, whoa, because if any of you have played it, if you played the first one, then you played the second one on the campaign map, like, your armies are moving around, and, like, it was so much better than the first one. Even though I loved, to this day, Medieval Total War was just an awesome game at the first time, but Rome, just like, to this day, I think Rome holds up to Shogun and Napoleon and games like that. It still holds up in the campaign map area, where it is awesome.
Beep, beep.
This is also Vince is here, so he'll introduce himself
Beep,
later.
beep. What a way to make an entrance into my podcast. What is that you even have? We've got
He's
a
got-
tray,
he's
a
got
bowl.
We've got a tray. And
That soup is really good too. It's like Karaba's chicken noodle spicy
It's
soup.
pretty good. It reminds me of my grandma's
You're
soup.
eating in my podcast. How unprofessional of you.
Yeah, we're gonna.
Well,
all the Redditors are just gonna
yeah,
now,
Danny.
as though my 5-minute expository.
to kind of describe Vince in a nutshell is I don't give a fuck.
More or less.
Yes.
No, more than less.
Well, now that you're kind of done, you know.
no, I'm not done yet.
What you
I
need to
got a
be
whole
done.
lot more.
You need to be done.
This
you
is
need to be
this
done.
is really nice.
We've got news to tackle here, and then we got to get into the Sony conference. Really, the only piece of news I got is apparently now with the major fallout of Colonial Marines being a complete flop. Because on the last podcast that I had recorded, I was really excited for Colonial Marines. Of course, this is before the launch. And now it's a complete and total failure, and Gearbox, the president of Gearbox, is pretty much at this point going, I don't know how this happened. I don't know anything about my projects anymore. What happened?
Yeah,
It's so... It's such a shame, because it had so much potential. Especially for Aliens fans like myself. I was really looking forward to it.
I don't know why, because there's never been a good Aliens game.
yeah.
It's not like you had the bar set high. It's like Star Trek games.
I
Like
don't
any
know.
Star Trek fan, whenever there's a game, like, oh,
The last Alien vs. Predator game that they came out with on the 360 really wasn't that bad. It wasn't the best thing in the world.
you
but it
realize what
wasn't
you're saying, though. You're
bad.
saying it wasn't that bad. Like,
I mean,
I'm saying they've
if
never
I had
had
to
one
give
that
it a
was like,
scale,
oh, that's a good game.
if I had to give it a grade out of 10, I'd give it like a 6.5.
There.
It's not horrible.
Does your mom make these raviolis?
No.
Like a robot?
Mom, make these raviolis.
No, but like I said, it's like a Star Trek game, or even for a while there's Star Wars games where it was just, you see like a new Star Wars game come out. I'm talking about Star Wars because I played more Star Wars games than Star Trek games. I just knew that there were never any good Star Trek games. But it'd be like, I wonder if this is going to be like Jedi Outcast 2, or if it's going to be like Jedi Outcast Academy. Like, what kind of game is this going to pair up to? Like, is it going to be good,
Well, it had better be Jedi Outcast rather than Jedi Academy.
or is it going to be bad? And like,
The just comment
especially
on that.
RTS games.
Like the very subtle changes of titles in like Star Wars games really annoyed me because I got like Rogue Squadron, which I think was like the fighter one.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh well, I really like that, so let me go buy this similarly titled game called Rogue Leader, and that sucked. It was like partly space combat sim, and then you had like third person really bad action.
Oh, I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about. Rebel Strike.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember Rebel Strike. God, that game was
See,
horrible.
that's what I'm saying. Like,
But-
you never know what game in Star
Yeah.
Wars games. So you never knew.
I mean,
Yeah.
the game Battlefront, I think we can all agree was pretty good.
Battlefront was amazing.
Yeah.
Can
And-
they make Battlefront 3 with the dice?
Yeah, with
engine,
just
with
Frostbite.
2.0?
Yes. I would love that until the end of time.
You can have my money, dice.
Another game featuring Kyle Katarn in the vein of Jedi Outcast.
I'm fine with that.
An
let's
actual KOTOR.
Let's not. Yeah, I know. Let's not stray too far from the point of this podcast, which is me talking about the games I played when I was little.
But yes.
No,
Oh, for God's
but
sake.
no, I did
you're
want to
done.
say,
I am shutting you down.
PC games is where I'm at now. I'm not going to get the PlayStation 4. There was a moment in the
Well,
the
we're not
conference
there
though.
yet. We're not there yet.
No, we're not yet.
We're not at the conference
Not-
yet.
I thought we were just not talking about it.
No. We go from Colonial Marines to Star Wars
We
to
were just
PS4.
rambling, which is where I
your
was trying to bring us
segues
back.
don't make any sense.
I was trying to bring us back to the conference, like you said.
But Colonial Marines is a failure, and I'm butthurt about it.
I don't know why. It's like saying
And Vince is over
Star
there
Trek
making these
Legacy
hand
is
gestures
bad.
while eating soap.
there's never been a good Aliens game. I don't think there will be. And when there is, I will be very excited.
Well, I already have a solution on how to make a good Alien game. And ditch the entire concept of being a Marine. Just forget about it. Be like the first movie. Improvised weapons, tight enclosed spaces. Oh wait, but that might encroach on Dead Space's territory.
Mhm.
Actually,
Not
that'd be a
anymore.
good thing to be more like Dead Space 1, considering that Dead Space is no longer...
Dead Space.
Yeah, it's all-out action
Well,
at this point.
Let's quickly switch to Dead Space real quick. What was the scary part? What was the scariest part of Dead Space 1? To me, it was the alone. You're in a giant ship in the middle of nowhere. So what other genre or fiction? I lost the words here.
You mean
Fits that?
other game?
Well, no, what other storyline would fit that perfectly? Oh, I don't know. Aliens! So, I don't know why they haven't put those two together. Like, hey, Dead Space was this game where you're in space and there's these monsters. We have this story sitting in our laps, whoever owns Aliens and whoever owns the game rights. Why don't we take what Dead Space did and make it a game? I don't care if it's like, I wouldn't care if I played it, I was like, this feels like Dead Space. If anything, I'd be like, oh, sweet, this feels like Dead Space. I like it.
It comes down to which movie out of the Alien franchise was the most popular and made the most money, which was Aliens, which was a more action-oriented movie. So naturally, it appeals to a wider audience.
I disagree because the Alien brand itself, to me, when I think of Aliens, I think of all of them. I just think of the alien and then shooting the alien and like Ripley carrying a child and then getting the giant thing and punching one. Like I don't think of a specific movie. And granted, I'm not as big of an Aliens fan as you are.
And I
But
know
most people aren't as big as Alien fans as you are, so they're gonna see an Alien game and be like, oh, if it's specifically targeted as a scary horror game, then they're gonna be like, oh, it's kind of like Dead Space with aliens, which I would totally be down for.
But here's the thing about Dead Space. Dead Space gives you the capability to buy guns, even in the first game. I'm talking like, you take the concept of Alien 3, this is a prison colony. You don't have weapons here. You have to make your own weapon, whether it be like you take you take a utility knife or the blade from a utility knife and stick it on the end of a small pipe, then you got an improvised spear. Something like that. You have to make your own weapons to combat the alien.
Which I would be totally fine with. I would much more rather like it'd be like Alien, where you're on a colony, so there are weapons, and there's a little bit more to your prize. But how cool would it be? Either A, you're on this small colony that's now under attack, or B, you're in space and you picked up this transport that was full of aliens that was like, drift in space. And you're like, hey, what's that? And the captain's like, oh, let's dock with it. And you're like, no, don't do it, you idiot. And then you dock with it, and then like aliens everywhere. And like now you have to kill the aliens to somehow survive, and maybe at the end you die. I would be totally fine with that. It seems to me like whoever owns the rights to Aliens should do this and make a horror game. Because, the horror genre has always sold well. Between the Resident Evil series.
Well, I think the problem is that when it comes to...
hold on, especially now with Slender and
don't
Amnesia.
even bring that in there.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like, right now, if anything, horror and scary games are on a rise. Now would be a perfect time to make a scary
I would
alien
have
game.
to disagree.
Yeah,
Because
what?
all of the big horror giants, like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, are selling out to appeal more to the, Call of Duty craze crowd. Look at Resident Evil 6.
That's
that
only
game
because...
is...
No, I disagree. I strictly think that's only because those crowds are getting so big that the horror crowd's like, hey, we should jump on that bandwagon because Call of Duty's...
That's what selling out is.
Yes.
But you don't... I'm saying...
No, go.
No, because when you sell out, you're specifically trying to make more cash. It's not like an Aliens game that was scary wouldn't make any money. It would make really good money.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't want to make good money. They want to make Call of Duty money, which game developers need to realize isn't going to happen all the time. Because if your game is $60, not everyone's going to buy it. And there's still a really good amount of medium to hardcore gamers that if they see a game like Dead Space that is alien-fied, that is a word, but they'll go buy it, and I don't see, obviously you're not going to get the average low-end gamer who would go buy a Call of Duty because him and his friends enjoy dicking around on Saturday night playing Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not avoid the fact that you can make a game like Dead Space that had multiplayer that was centered around aliens. How cool would it be if me and you jumped in a multiplayer game?
Well, that was what they were trying to do with Colonial Marines, but the problem is that, you just had an entire slew of problems which came to light after the game's release, such as the fact that Gearbox deliberately took money out of the game's budget to put towards Borderlands 2, which is just a bad business practice all on its own. Borderlands is already going to sell.
Mm-hmm.
They already know that. So what if it's not entirely perfect at launch? It still wasn't entirely perfect when the game came out. You don't take money from a game that's been in development for 6 or 7 years, been in development hell for that long. In fact, I think the production even goes even longer than that. You don't do that. You don't take money away from, especially something with as big of a license as Alien. This is a multi-million-dollar franchise here, pretty much one of 20th Century Fox's babies at this point, especially with the newfound popularity, or if you didn't like the movie Prometheus, it's pretty much split down the middle with that. You got a prequel to the franchise now, and it's kind of reinvigorated this interest in the universe of Alien. You do not take away money from something as big as that.
Well, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
There's no reason to be like, Gearbox did bad, and here's why. They did, what they did was bad, and we can all assume that. Right now, I'm just strictly talking in the sense of, why not make a horror game? And I really can't wait till they make a co-op horror game. I really can't. And I know, everyone's like, well, Dead Space 3, but I want a game that you have your single-player campaign, and then you can go play co-op missions on the side that are not at all... maybe there's, some sort of bridge or gap, and that's fine, but, nothing that's too blatantly obvious, I could play this mission with a friend or by myself. I'd rather do it with a friend. No, I want my single-player mission by myself, that campaign, and then I can go jump on Xbox Live or on the internet or on PlayStation Network.
This is what Dead Space 3 should have done. If they wanted to do co-op so bad, instead of making the game tailor-made for cooperative gameplay, create 2 separate campaigns, a single-player one, which is more of what we had before, and then, when you're done beating the game, you unlock a co-op campaign where you can jump online with a friend, and you can play through that, and it's completely unrelated to the story. I would have been okay with that. But I played the demo for Dead Space 3, and you can obviously tell that the single player, I use this in quotation marks, was made for two people to be playing at the same time. It's not meant to be played alone anymore, which is my biggest disappointment with the game.
Me and Kyle had a discussion. Kyle's one of my really good friends. We had a discussion about how awesome it would be if they made like a level in a horror game where one person has to go to the other side to like activate the bridge so they can both cross, and the other person's in like a command room and he controls the lights to like the lower levels, and like one of you're both playing right next to each other or online, and you're walking like a maze labyrinth kind of thing, and it's all dark, and the guy in the control room sees like a radar screen and there's red dots and like one green, and that's you, and he's controlling the lights to light your way, but he also knows there's enemies and he doesn't want to have you run into enemies and find you, so he's like, take a left. Oh, no, turn around. So, I mean, like, imagine the amount of anticipation and, like, fear in this segment of... And now this is co-op. This is online multiplayer. I mean, obviously, not everyone, like, a lot of the Call of Duty guys aren't going to enjoy this, but I know it would be amazing to me to play as the guy in the command or walking around on the ground with no weapon. You know, right now you're just trying to get across. And this is in the campaign mission. Obviously, this wouldn't work single player, but... to me, like, I don't know why they don't do these things instead of just, like, let's throw two people on the map and have them shoot stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I'll go play Call of Duty if I want to do that. I mean, and I can combat roll.
Oh, God. Dead Space 3 combat roll.
But I would take a serious look at a horror game that had aliens on it. I would. But, again, like I said, there's never been a good aliens game, so I'd be like... Eh.
And that just... helps further perpetuate the fact, oh, look, another one of these shitty alien games. We all know how this is going to go.
Which makes absolutely no sense.
It's just that, like you said, there's been so many flops when it comes to using that license that, at this point, I don't think anybody would be able to take it seriously, especially after the hype of Colonial Marines. I don't know. I've got a good idea for it. Nobody's going to listen to it. So
well, I think my idea is good too. I think a lot of people. There's probably a lot of people that have good ideas. It's just for some reason, and I really hold true to that you'd make money. I mean, Dead Space 1 made money,
mm-hmm.
and Dead Space 2 made money, but they wanted to make more money, and I understand that. I mean, you want to make more money. I understand that, but at what point do you sell out? Not sell out, but just stop making quality products to just hit a broader audience. I don't know. I mean. Because, like I said, there's a lot of normal and hardcore gamers that would buy a game like Dead Space,
mm-hmm.
or Alien Space, that's what I'll call it.
But
there's that low end average gamer who's not going to, because one, they've never played a game like it before, and two, because they play Call of Duty and they play Battlefield, which I don't want to put Battlefield in that, but they play Halo 4 and they play Call of Duty.
They play the FPS of the week, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and one way to fix that, and hopefully the new consoles will address that, is easier ways to play a game. Not just a demo, but play like, and I guess this would be a good segue into the conference, but apparently you can play a game, and it's not a watered-down version of the game. You actually play the game on the internet, and then you can buy it right there, and it downloads to you, and you can keep playing while it downloads. So you're playing, and it's downloading, and that's pretty darn cool to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like when you play, when any kind of Blizzard game does that, when you start downloading the game, it hits a point where you can play it, and it's not done downloading. And you can play it, and you'll have to download the map that you're trying to run, but you can play it, which to me is really cool. So hopefully that will help the normal and hardcore gamers who maybe don't have all the money to buy every game they're interested in, or on the fence with more opportunities to play games and be like, oh, I really like this game, I'm going to buy it now. Which, that's one thing I was impressed with today, the overall growing of the market, of the online market, which I'm excited about. I can say, overall, it was a good conference. I mean, other than the what was it, Capcom guy?
Well, just as a bit of a disclaimer before we go any further into this, because we had to run an errand real quick. We missed about the first 15 minutes of the conference.
15 to 20 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, so really all we missed was the unveiling of the DualShock 4 controller, which I guess that's a good place to start. for about 2 weeks, there's been leaked images on the internet of what was rumored to be the new PlayStation 4 controller, and it turns out that design was actually accurate. The leaked photos were legitimate. With the whole touchscreen on the front of it, I've already seen people on Facebook and on Twitter already crying Nintendo Wii U. I don't really know why, because you can't play the game in the controller. Yeah. It's just for initiating apps and things like that. I'm glad that it's not such a strong departure from the classic controller.
Yeah.
I think with the addition of a headphone jack, which I'm assuming you can just plug in your earbuds or headphones or whatever and be able to listen to the game, or even
really
plug in a headset.
Why hasn't this already been done? It's 2013.
Yeah, I know. The 360's had it since the 360 came out, and now Sony's finally going, okay, well, let's put this in here now. So that's a good addition. As for the touchscreen itself, it kind of reminds me a little bit more of the PlayStation Vita.
He's waving around his Vita.
Yeah,
everyone.
I'm waving around my magical black brick that plays Metal Gear Solid on a bus.
Me and Vince bought our tablets earlier, and then...
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, Derek has a tablet. Oh, Vince bought a tablet today, and I just have my PlayStation Vita.
I got a Nexus 7, guys. I got the 32 gigabit version.
This isn't a tech podcast.
This isn't no, I don't care. You can techno babble if you want.
What should we start, like, our favorite parts of the conference?
Well, we'll try to go in order that we saw it, kind of cover all the bases.
Well, the first, 10 minutes were barely watchable because we were watching on the PlayStation
stream.
On the PlayStation website, the stream was horrible. We went to GameSpot, which I despise that website, but it
stabilized when
it was much
there,
better.
So. Going through, I think we came in. There's this new kind of puzzle game. I guess that I didn't catch the name.
That puzzle game. We came in at the kill zone.
Yeah, pretty much we got a stable.
There was a lot of zone. Killing that zone.
There was a lot of death in that specific zone.
Yes.
So, and I was surprised because having played the previous 3 Killzone games, this looks a lot different from the previous entries. It doesn't look as dirty or grimy, because past games have been like this dirt, combat-scarred environment. Now you're in this city that looks all nice and clean. And
yeah, I guess I should, another disclaimer, I have never owned a PlayStation product, or a Sony product. We were going to finish my story of games. I jumped the Xbox, and I jumped the Xbox 360, and then I got my computer, and when I got my computer, I was like, dead to all the consoles, and I don't want anything to do with them anymore. But to say that, it doesn't mean I'm not closed-minded at all. I understand how some people are like, oh, I don't understand console wars. I've never gotten that, where like, this one's better than this one. I think it's kind of dumb.
Especially
they're generally,
in this day and age.
Especially the Xbox and PlayStation 2 and the 360 and the 3, they were very similar in hardware. The only thing you had was like specific games, which PlayStation, for some reason, Sony has found a way to make much better games. I will give them that. I mean, other than Gears of War and Halo, what has Xbox had? What was that? Forza?
Yeah,
no.
they had a. Well, yeah, they.
No,
had,
it wasn't Forza. It was another. It was a racing game.
No, Forza is exclusive to the Xbox.
They had Mass Effect, and they pooped that away.
Oh well, yeah, and then EA bought out BioWare. It's like, let's make it multi-platform now.
Yeah, but I don't plan on getting this console. I will definitely like to play on it from a friend's, but I mean, I don't really see a reason.
Friend as in me?
You or Kyle said he might get it, so I'll play Kyle's. I would definitely want to watch someone play, because I love watching people play games. I would definitely want to watch someone play the new Metal Gear games, because that genre, those games have always impressed me. And but that
Killzone game, it really did, because I really like now that they're taking a direction with, because you said you hadn't even played any of the games.
Exactly. So there was no I was like, oh, it looks like a first-person
They were very
shooter.
dirty looking, like these just rank and file city environments, and now you get this nice clean landscape. When the weapon that you're using, as I was like, it kind of looks like a laser gun, and it's shooting kind of laser things. This is new. They never had a weapon like that in the previous games. But overall, it looks really good, and I'm looking forward to Killzone Shadowfall.
I hope I don't sound biased, but I have to disagree. And trust me, if I'm here, whenever the Xbox releases their new one, and whatever games, I will probably be just as hard on them. Because to me, it looked very generic-ish. Like
Mhm.
there was one part I was like, that's cool. Is when he has his rifle and he's aiming it and he attaches something, he like switches something and like it turns like a sniper rifle kind of thing, and that was cool. I'll give him that. The whole weapon modification is cool, even though Call of Duty kind of had it first in Modern Warfare 3, where they had like the sight. But this is much different, much cooler in my opinion. They had the cover system that I really like from Far Cry 3, where you can duck and like you pull your gun up and then you can aim out and shoot, and then when you release the left trigger, you go back to being ducking.
Yeah,
I don't know why every single first-person shooter from now on should just be like, oh, that's a really cool mechanic. Let's add that in our game.
But they've also had that cover mechanic since the second Killzone
I didn't
game,
know that.
So.
Because I was like, oh, they stole from Far Cry 3, and Danny started
I'm
yelling
like,
at me.
Dude, Killzone 2 came out, what, 2008,
I didn't know that.
2009, so... Yeah, well, that's okay. You didn't
But
know.
I wasn't very much impressed with it because it looked to me like a generic mission-based first-person shooter, and maybe it could be cool with some. And it was like a tech demo, pretty much. It was like a beta demo. So I mean, I was like, oh look, it's a quick time event. He's climbing the rope and planting the C4, and I was like, oh
Yeah,
it looked amazing. I'll give you that. It looked like this new console. I'm excited about it because this next year and a half, it's going to be in the forefront of technology, and these games are going to look really nice compared to the old.
And for the most part, even with some of the games that they announced today, you will be able to reap the benefits with your computer too.
Exactly, because now games are not going to be hindered with the old, like 7 cycles.
512 megabytes of RAM.
Yeah, 7 cycles worth of improvements have happened since the 360, and I think 6 with the PlayStation 3.
Mm-hmm. Sounds about right.
Right.
I wasn't paying attention.
Well, let's ask Vince. Vince is going to come in the conversation. Sorry.
It's all right.
You said that it was like 7 cycles between the 360 and now in this 2013, right?
Yeah, about like every the die has been shrunk every about 6, 5, 7 times around that time.
Yeah. So right now our video cards are immensely more powerful. Not video, but GPUs are immensely more powerful than they were in 2005 and 6.
Yes,
Yeah.
2006.
So
when
these
the 360
games are going to be now. Game developers are going to be able to especially Dice and Crytek.
Yes.
And
it's
the
funny
Unreal
you should
Engine
bring up Crytek.
3, I believe. I'm excited about them because now they can go, hey, we can really go hardcore now because we're not going to be limited with this ancient technology.
It's funny that you should mention Crytek because about 6 months ago they had posted there was an article that I had read on in the Gamer News section of Reddit where they had gone on the record saying that they want new consoles to have 16 gigs of RAM, and from what they announced today, they have half that.
Well, what's the point? RAM isn't really important in a console, right?
No, because you have RAM is most important when you have like a lot of background processes running, and you don't really have in a console. Like you'll have maybe at most like just whatever online services that you have, and then maybe like your music player or whatever. You'll have like some, but it won't be as extensive as a computer. So to say that you need 16 gigabits of RAM or even 8 giggle bits of RAM or even 8 is
almost
it's kind of obnoxious. Like four is
like when you have a computer, obviously you're gonna have your internet browser up, you're gonna have whatever game you're running, you can have like iTunes, you can be streaming a video, like all these things are take from your virtual memory. Your Xbox 360 or Xbox or PlayStation 4, maybe I guess maybe they decided with this whole new social interaction and stuff, maybe there's going to be multiple things going up at once. So maybe they'll need more RAM. But like the old, the 360 and the PlayStation 3 didn't need any more RAM. I don't know why Crytek said that. It makes no sense to me.
It's because Crytek, or when it comes to the technical aspect of games, Crytek only they're very snobbish when it comes to that.
But if you look, if you open up your task manager or whatever thing you use to look at your system specs, you'll notice like if you run a game, you'll get like Crysis 3. I think is like 1.5 gigabits of RAM.
Which is not that much.
Yeah, which 4 gigs of RAM completely covers. and then you have your
I've got another 15 to spare.
And then you have like 2.5 gigabits left for
your operating system.
Yeah, your operating system and all the rest of the things on the console. So you can kind of project that forward to be like 2.5 gigs of RAM for one game in the future for a console, but I mean 4 gigs is
Sufficient.
enough. 4 gigs, yeah, it's enough.
So Kill Dogs,
Killzone,
Killzone
Shadowfall.
Really decent. It looked decent.
Yeah, it looked pretty good. And then was it Capcom that came on after that?
No, it was another. It was the Infamous.
Ah, yes, the
Which-
Infamous 3. Which,
I love that intro. The guy looked like the most anti-government person
Yeah,
I've ever met. It was great.
It started going in, and I mentioned to both of you, I was like, well, I didn't know that I was stumbled into a lecture that was against the Patriot Act.
It's great.
So-
There's like 7,000 cameras.
Yeah. Great setup there for an IP that I've never been excited about ever.
Until now, I was interested.
Yeah.
I mean,
That
granted, there was
trailer
no
looks
gameplay,
pretty
but
good.
it looked. If I'm blowing up the bad government stuff, I'm down with that.
I'm not really too big on the Infamous franchise at this point, having played 1 and 2. I thought they were okay games, but this third one looks different enough that I'm kind of excited for it. I wouldn't say that I'm going to buy it on day one, but probably somewhere close, maybe about 2 weeks later or something like that. So, and then who did we get? Capcom guy?
God, Capcom guy was.
Oh
the best.
man, he is going
English.
To, yeah,
English.
He literally said English.
Like, it was like Vince said it best. Is this the South Park guy in disguise? Like it. I almost expected him to be like,
Shitty walk.
Carmen, I ate a cuttlefish. Like it was.
Yeah, it was.
It was so bad.
Yes.
And then like they didn't even announce. And what did Capcom do there?
They showed this completely pre-rendered trailer for it's like below Be Below or
Yeah,
something.
I was playing StarCraft at the time.
Yeah, it whatever it was, not memorable at all. I looked at it and I just like.
But then Square Enix came out and saved the day.
And by save the day, they said, yeah, we're going to recycle this thing that you saw a year ago at E3. And then they had the Final Fantasy brand manager come out and go, we announcing new game. We excited for E3. Thank you.
Final Fantasy 13/27.
Exactly. So nothing really much on the Square Enix home front. And at this point, I wouldn't expect any more from them. As for E3, Square Enix, you just need to get your shit together.
And there was another puzzle game.
Yeah, and then there's this whole, with the PlayStation Move, the drawing.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Now,
And-
is it going to make me buy a move? No.
yeah, am I going to buy a move for it? No.
Fireball!
Like-
Fireball! Can you imagine, like, let's just, real estate. Like, you're at home alone. It's like a Thursday evening. You got work the next morning, but you have like 3 hours to kill. So you're like halfway through your 3 hours of playing this RPG, and you have said Fireball 60 times. And you're running around and like, Fireball! Fireball! Crap! Fireball! Ice Storm! Like, can you imagine how obnoxious that would get?
Well, you are a singularity. Yeah,
Ugh.
it's just
and
like
especially in
imagery
a
with the
scenario
Kinect.
where like you have to do things quickly, so you're like Fireball, Ice Shield, Quick Speed, Attack, Fireball. It's just, I don't get voice activated stuff
Yeah.
unless it's like
Motion controls in gaming is a stupid thing. It's never gonna go anywhere. They're trying to cash in on the Wii.
Do you disagree?
Vince has a sound of disagreement.
Yeah,
I'm curious
long
now.
groan. That Well, in the far future, like 20 years, I think we'll have technology that would be fully immersive.
Well, the whole fucking room will be a console in 20 years.
But by then we'll be that old people that don't like to play those kind of games.
I don't
like,
know what you're talking about.
Give me a controller,
But the
damn it!
thing is that they're just gonna have porn games out there.
20 years from now, I'm going to be in my 40s. What are you talking about? I'm still going to be playing video games.
Yeah, but you're gonna be like, give me the control. You're gonna be like the nostalgia gamer. This new bullshit. I don't like this. Give me back my Razor controller.
I remember Super Mario 64 like it was yesterday. Yes,
Look
I will
at those
be
bloody guns.
That's what Danny's gonna sound like in 20 years.
GoldenEye 007 is still the best thing ever. Fuck Reloaded.
Like, he pretty much is gonna have asthma and Agent Orange all in one.
Asthma and Agent Orange. Interesting combination.
Hello.
That results in
It's an
death,
Agent Orange.
Derek.
I really like
What did you have after the whole
I don't-
thing?
I was
it's
playing
all a
StarCraft.
blur. There was
I
a
know, and
racing game.
Oh no! Oh yeah, the racing, that was right. The racing
Yeah.
game came out after Infamous or before Infamous. That
Yeah.
that actually looked pretty darn good.
And
Strictly, like, I don't like playing. I just want to watch someone play it because it looks good.
when it comes to racing games on consoles, Sony has always had that edge above Microsoft. Like with the Gran Turismo series, has always been much more visually impressive than say Forza or anything to the likes on the 360. So
This makes me like those cars look hot. Like it, I will say that.
I'ma fuck it.
It looks so clean, and it makes me wonder, like, how long until games are gonna just look like real life. I'm excited. That one was exciting. And then my personal favorite was Watchmen. That was where I got really excited because that game.
Watchmen. I didn't know they
Shit.
made another Watchmen game.
The what?
Watchdog.
The end
Watchdog,
is
I'm
end is
sorry.
nigh, part 3.
I'm sorry. God. The
Tales of the
Watchdog.
Black Raider.
There you go. Super director's cut.
Watch-
5th anniversary edition.
Watchdog was my personal favorite because I love the Assassin's Creed games, and Ubisoft has always been like my third or fourth favorite game developers. Because I just finished playing Far Cry. Game development.
Derek has like the listings of his favorite game.
Well, it would be
on his wall, and
Valve.
it's like he just wakes up in the morning. And it's
I
like,
do. I think of game.
Valve.
He just thinks about it. He just thinks about it for a while, and he's like,
Yeah.
No.
And he has like the little
Switches
slide
them
out
up.
things, and he's like.
No, it's always Valve and Blizzard, and then from then on down, it kind of every now and then goes around. Because like, Valve was awesome, and Blizzard's awesome, and I know a lot of people are like,
How would you have felt if Gabe Newell walked out on that stage and said, Half-Life 3 coming to PlayStation 4?
you know what's upsetting is I would probably buy a PlayStation 4 then. I probably would, and I would be so mad about it. I would be so mad, but I'd have to buy one because I'd have to play that game. Like, and I would get so mad at him too, but then he wouldn't because because trust me, I got real scared because like never before, and I was like, wait, is he talking about Valve? And I was like, and it took me until later when I realized that Valve, I think Valve was done at a Microsoft conference. I'm not sure. I just know I got really scared that Gabe Newell was going to come out there and announce the new. It split my the thought raced across my head. I was like, oh god, no. And then the Blizzard guy came out, and that was okay. And
Oh god, Diablo 3. Out of all the things that they could have picked to put out on the PlayStation 4.
It's the game that makes the most sense. It really is, because it's not like an IP that's continuing to grow like StarCraft or Warcraft.
Yeah.
Like, it's the one that's like, well, it's kind of dead in the water right now. Let's throw it out on the PlayStation, where it probably will work very well with the controls.
Mhm.
And it'll probably be a lot of fun.
Or, instead of just porting Diablo 3 over to the PS3 and PS4, go, oh, we here at Blizzard have decided, okay, let's actually put a brand new IP on a brand new console.
I don't think that's their
Just
style, though.
saying.
I don't think that's their style. If I was curious, I thought maybe for a second it might be StarCraft Ghosts.
We could only
cool.
dream.
No, that'd be pretty cool, but it makes total sense. I mean, as far as like a commercial move and a move to make money, it makes absolute perfect sense. Like, hey,
Yeah.
let's make a game that's easily ported over, and people will buy it, and they'll have fun with it. Yeah,
Well, I guess when that launches on the PS3, because he also said it's going to be out on the PS3 before the PS4, obviously. Let's just hope it's not plagued with the same problems on the PS3 launch as the PC launch.
it won't. Error 45.
Yep.
Because I had a LAN party that night with Vince and two others, and it took us an hour.
I wasn't invited.
No, it took us longer than that because we got the game. You guys got the game from
GameStop.
GameStop.
The devil.
Thank you.
And
Vince.
then I bought it from Blizzard, and I was downloading it, and it took us. We came back around at like 12:30, and my game had just finished downloading, and then we all tried to sign in, and we didn't get started until like 3 or 4 in the morning. It was
Which everyone, I still hear people that hate on Blizzard for that night, and I don't understand why. Because it wasn't like they didn't have enough servers. They just didn't. You can't anticipate how many people are going to log in at once, and the servers got overloaded for that. And it's not like they could run to Dell or run to Best Buy real quick and be like, hey, let's buy all your computers and we're going to turn them to servers. Because, like, it wasn't like, I guess they could have planned a little better, but it wasn't like they weren't prepared. It's just, any server, any amount of servers got overloaded. It wasn't like their servers couldn't handle that amount of people at one time, or at a time. It was they all logged in at once, and it didn't work.
They had the same problem when DICE released Battlefield 3. They had the same exact problem.
So yeah,
It was just a complete
I'm
overload.
kind of a Blizzard fanboy, so I'm defending them, and people were like ripped them apart about it, like how dare they do this? And it's like it is, a lot of people try to log on at once, like a lot of people, and it caused like it's like trying to shove a block of cheese down a hose. It doesn't work.
A block of cheese down a hose. That's a new one for me.
Yeah. But to Watchdog, my favorite.
Oh, you mean Assassin's Creed
It is not
Law
Assassin's
Enforcement
Creed.
Edition?
Stop it.
Even
Assassin's Creed Vigilance.
Stop. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'm excited by it. Like, hey,
I'm still gonna
she's gonna
play
get
it.
raped. I better save her.
It's okay.
I'm gonna buy it when it comes out.
I
on
think
my PC
anything
and
Ubisoft puts out at this point is going to be better than Assassin's Creed 3.
Well, look, I'll give a developer 1 or 2 bad games as long as they're making good games as well. So they made Assassin's Creed 3. Oh darn, they made Far Cry 3. You know what? I'm okay. That's a good trade off because Far Cry 3 was amazing.
Yes, I agree, and I'm still waiting in anticipation.
Until I play Dishonored, it is now my game of the year for last year. I'll play Dishonored. I have a feeling I'll love that game, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. But for now, the skill system, the stealth system, games.
Bethesda games are just.
Dishonored. I mean, yeah, Dishonored. Well, that's another developer. Bethesda's in my top 5.
Bethesda, why can't you code for Blu-ray?
Yeah.
Why is my dragon flying backwards? I don't understand. So yes, Bethesda. Bethesda's a very interesting developer for me because it's like we could make a game that is completely full of bugs and people still enjoy playing it, and they only bitch when it's Fallout New Vegas.
Yep.
And I'll never understand why people complain about Fallout New Vegas, but
get retarded. It's kind of like a relationship of you give and you take, and if there's too many bugs, then you don't want to play it. But if it's not good enough and not too obviously any new engine in any game like Fallout 3 and Skyrim and even Oblivion for that matter is gonna have bugs. It's just Vince was telling me in Fallout 3 one of the best weapons was supposed to be the gaseous rifle.
Yeah, the Gauss rifle.
The Gauss rifle, and because one it had the hit of the actual bullet and then it had the explosion, but one of those didn't do damage and they couldn't fix it because it was so embedded in the code. And is that a bad thing? Yes, it is, but I don't really care. It's hard to explain. You give to me if as long as the bug doesn't totally ruin my gameplay, for instance a saving bug, like a loading bug, I'm okay with every now and then there's a dog sticking out of the ground. You know what? I'll laugh at it and be like, okay, whatever. Mass Effect 3 was really buggy, too buggy. Mass Effect 2 was buggy, but not too
Mass
much.
Effect 3 wasn't finished, in my opinion.
It wasn't. It's just there's a lot of bugs and it's really apparent that there are bugs there. It's and when it's not I don't think the developers got worse at making or coding their game, making a non-buggy game, but they just didn't have enough time because you look back to Mass Effect 2 and it's that had bugs, obviously. But
In Mass Effect 1, remember we kept screaming, it's a broken game.
Mass Effect 1 is notorious.
Yeah, Mass Effect 1 had a lot of bugs, but they really fixed things in Mass Effect 2, and then Mass Effect 3 just.
But I was going to use Mass Effect 1 as my main example. Did we at one time really this game is not good because of some of the bugs? No, Remember when you turned on the overkill and you ran in there and it was still shooting?
Yeah.
When you talked to her, like, that was funny. And, like, does it take away from how good the game is? Not really. Like, never once did our saves just break down. And those things happen, like, very rarely in any game. So as long as the major bugs of, like, not being able to load your save and the game just crashing over and over and over again, I don't have a problem with a game that is notoriously, and I put that in quotes, buggy. Like Fallout 3, I keep saying Far Cry, I'm sorry. Fallout 3 and Skyrim and Oblivion and even Mass Effect 2 and 1 for that problem. It comes when it's like, and I'll even give Mass Effect 3 a pass because there was never like a bug. I never experienced a bug that really like made me dislike the game more than I.
Wait a minute. Yeah, there's a big-ass bug in the game. What are you talking about?
Well,
It's called the ending.
Yeah, okay. Ha ha
Ah, I'm ready to funny.
Derek brought up, I just want to put this out there. This is completely unrelated, but it really pissed me off, and I feel like I have to talk about it. About the save games, like, breaking down. I played Splinter Cell Conviction on the hardest difficulty, which, whatever, it's not that hard, right? And I got to the last mission on the hardest difficulty, and I was about 2 rooms away from, like, the end of it, and I decided, okay, that's enough, not knowing I was, like, so close to the end. And then I load up the game the next day, your save files have been corrupted.
By whom?
Yeah, and it's like, so I had to start the game over from the beginning. It's like, oh no, this sucks.
I don't even want to play this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's basically that. It's like, oh.
Yeah, and that's something that can really ruin a game when you lose your save file and a bug like that. But none of the games that we've, I've never played a game. It's happened to me very rarely. Like it happened in New Vegas, and that made me stop playing because I didn't want to have to,
Trudge through it.
Yeah, especially in an RPG like that, there's a lot of like conversation that the first time you do it is really cool, and then the second time, like a couple months later, is cool because you want to do a different approach. But when you're forced to start over, it can be so.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the worst feelings in the world as a gamer, is having to start over a game, and you're just like, I don't want to have to deal with all this. I don't want to do this. But
so after Blizzard, we I don't know, we didn't really have that much of it. Yeah.
Much of anything. Yeah. What was after Blizzard?
This happened just like an hour
Yeah.
ago, and I don't even fucking remember. That's probably
was
how
it
this conference.
the last puzzle game.
Was there another puzzle game? I know that there was a mention of a guy who, I don't remember what the name of the game he was, but apparently it's a bestseller on PSN, and he's making a new game. It didn't really.
Yeah, that's when it went into
interesting to me.
that was when it went into
Yeah.
how we're gonna open up to small time developers, which makes me laugh because I'm like, haha, PC. Sorry everyone, there's my fanboyism right there. Like you can't right now. There's no way you can beat making if you're gonna make a small game and you want to make an indie game, unless. I'm assuming, and it's the easiest is to make it for the PC. And you can put it on a website and people can download it, and there's your game. And if you can get on Steam through Greenlight, which is an amazing thing, with good old games or any of those game seller websites, whatever. I'm gonna stop talking because I just sound like it's really stupid.
It's fine, Derek. I do want to talk about the specs for.
That's fine.
Yeah, just the GPU because it's AMD's doing it. That means that it's a CPU and the GPU on one core, on one die, which is different than what it usually is. It's usually the CPU separate and the GPU separate, but now it's on the same piece of silicon. So that means that it's going to cut development costs, and it also means because AMD is supposedly going to do it for all of the consoles, like the Wii U, I'm pretty sure, not certain though, has an AMD GPU in it. The PS4 is going to have AMD GPU in it, and then the next Xbox is going to have, it supposedly is supposed to have an AMD GPU. It means it's going to be very streamlined, and it's going to cut costs for game developers because in this generation, you have the Xbox 360 and the PS3. The PS3 was always like kind of a burden to develop for because it's just different than the Xbox 360, or vice versa, and so that would cut down on development costs, and that's good for the industry. But it's also
it would also make it easier to go back and forth between the consoles as well.
And that's what I was going to bring up. The consoles would also, because you develop a game on PC and then you port it over to console. Now it's going to be basically, and there's a lot of processes that you have to go through for that. That's why developing a game for consoles is such a bitch. Now it's just going to be much more simple because it's more or less a very CPU or a computer-like GPU instead of one that's made tailored for a console.
Now, would you say, since it's more of a universal style of development, cutting the development cost, would you say that may have any influence on maybe a price drop on final products at all? Maybe dropping from 60 to 50?
Probably not. It's already been set, so unless some company really thinks that they can that they can sell more, ship more units, and make a profit on the units shipped, then I don't think so. If anything, that just means that there's going to be more budget for future development things, because you don't have the cost, but you're still selling at the same price.
Okay.
Or the CEOs and the executives are just going to pocket it.
Yep.
Either way.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll probably see stock prices go up for the development companies.
Yes.
Yeah, I actually wish I had invested in some Sony stock because it went up like yesterday. I know it's gone back down, but it went up before the conference.
Well, that's good news for them, considering it's been on it hasn't been on that steep of a decline, but it's just really hasn't been the greatest for a while now, due to the fact that ever since the PS3 dropped, it's the PlayStation 2 and the PlayStation 3 both have not been major financial successes for Sony. I mean, since the start of the PlayStation 3, they've been selling it way under the cost of production. So it's ridiculous how they're even able to create games for it.
Yeah, and like I said before about the whole the single die thing on the CPU GPU, that's gonna make it cheaper for Sony to develop the product. And that's really where you're gonna see at least $75 to $100 be cut off of what the price might have been if it been like CPU GPU.
Which, at this point, speaking of the price, I haven't really seen. I didn't think they mentioned the price in the conference, but
it's just rumors.
Now. It seems to be floating around the $499 mark. Which,
it's like the $499, and I've seen things up to like $900, and I've seen things as low as like $300.
I think at this point, when it comes to the price point on a new Sony console, they don't want to have a repeat of the PlayStation 3 when they announced it. $79.99 or $7,999, whatever, $799. I don't think they want to have a repeat of that. So I think $500 sounds a lot more reasonable for what they're bringing to the table for a new console, brand new right out of the gate. The question is, if at a rumored $500 price point, will Microsoft try to lower the price of their upcoming console, or match it, or be stupid enough to go even higher?
Well, what did the Xbox 360 retail at launch?
$599?
I want to say it's around $400 or $500 at launch.
We can look it up.
I'm not quite sure.
Can I just want to jump in here, and while we're talking about next-gen consoles, I read an article on The Verge about Gabe Newell, my hero, and the Steam box, and how I think that once that is announced, I really think it will be the death of consoles.
I have to disagree with you on that, because of the price point that they're wanting to introduce it at.
No, he was talking about it'd be $99, and then eventually it'd be free.
The projected price point for the Steam box is $1,000 out of the gate.
Well, it depends on which one you want to get.
No, the base model is $1,000 out of the gate.
Says who?
says the people that were at the latest Consumer Electronics Show, which I can probably pull up for you in my web browser. Because they have pictures of it and everything. It's
I was wrong. I mean, it looks like
it's not going to be cheap at all. This is not made for people who are console gamers right now. It's not made for them at all.
Hold up, guys.
What's up?
Watch Dogs confirmed for Wii U.
oh boy.
Oh
Watch
boy!
Dogs.
I
Yes,
can't wait, dude.
Mario.
I can't wait to use my tablet to stop crime, man. Oh,
The Xbox Premium was $399. The Xbox Core was $299. And then in April, 2 years later, they had the Elite, which was 120 gigabytes. That was $479. I believe
So
$479 was the
right
highest.
around $400 to $500, really.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not really that bad considering the massive upgrade in hardware that you're getting from a 360 to.
Well, that's not the new Xbox. That's the 360.
I know.
Oh, okay.
I'm just talking about compared to the introductory price of our current gen consoles to compared to what's coming up. So, considering that Sony's PS3 started out at such a high price point, if they were to throw it down around $500, I could see justifying the purchase of that. There was something that was mentioned in the conference that we didn't get to see, and we jumped in right at it, but the stream wasn't too strong on their site. But it was about backwards compatibility. And from what they're saying is that the PlayStation 4, what they want to do is that they want to take all of the games that they have from 1, 2, and 3, and they want to put them in some kind of streaming cloud service. I have to disagree with that concept. I think me being able to have a physical copy, like I have several PS1 games, me being able to put that inside the PlayStation 4 would be a superior choice than streaming it from a cloud, as they put it. So, backwards compatibility, again, if this is true, we're getting the shaft again with the PlayStation 4.
Mm-hmm.
Tablets.
Well, look,
Tablets everywhere.
at the DICE Summit, Gabe Newell himself said it would be about $100, and eventually the price for them would go down to $0. So if they release a bare bones model for $100 that can run, the internet and stream games, and not just stream games but download them.
Well, look at the Ouya. Do you know what the Ouya is? I've
No,
talked
I
about it before.
I don't.
It was a Kickstarter project. I think it started out maybe about 8 or 9 months ago. You can look it up. It's a gaming home console that runs off of an Android OS. It starts out at $100. When the whole point is that you can play these. It's great for people who want to develop games. They pretty much give you a dev kit right out the door and say, make games for this, which is its primary selling point, because as of right now, consoles aren't really developer friendly. If you're trying to make something for the 360 in the indie game marketplace or something like that, it's not really friendly. So they're trying to help beat out the competition with that as their primary selling point. Also, the fact that their games would be cheaper than $60 retail games, because you're dealing with the Android marketplace, of course. They're not going to sell $60 games for an Android based console.
Well, and I think I think Gabe Newell is really smart. But
of course you do.
Well, he's pretty smart.
He's about as smart as he is rotund.
Yes. You could push that man down a mountain, he would not stop. He would hit terminal velocity.
Gabe Newell, toboggan.
I think there's a greater possibility for more manufacturers of Steam-like boxes than there are for consoles. You know what I mean? Like, you can, which is going to drive down consumer cost when there's more competition.
I don't think the Steam box is trying to target the current console
I don't
audience.
think so either, but
It's trying to target people like you who have a Steam library, but you know what? Maybe you just want to take your Steam library over to a friend's house, but you don't want to lug your desktop over
no,
there.
I don't.
And you can take this little tiny box, and you can go over to your friend's house, and you can play Far Cry 3, or you can play your modded Star Wars Empire at War.
Yes. Which another thing I wanted to go back to this when the guy was like, "Oh, we're gonna push for more third-party developers and more, more small development teams to make more games, and we're gonna leave that." And I'm like, yeah, it just, I played more of my PC games that have been modded to other games than I can shake my fist at, because it's so easy to mod a PC game, and it'd be almost a totally different game, or a game that's now, was a first-person shooter like StarCraft and Warcraft 3 are huge examples of like, Dota and League of Legends were born from Warcraft 3, a RTS, so I just feel when people, and I guess I'm kind of being an old drum, and I'm kind of talking in a totally different direction than him saying that they have, they're going to push for more third-party support and small developers, and this is kind of somewhat different, but I just don't see any comparison.
I'm glad that you brought up the fact that the Sony rep said we're trying to push for more third-party development. I have to disagree with that, because when you have third-party developers coming in, chances are they are cross-platform with the competition.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you have it in-house, it's probably only going to be on that console. Now, back in ye olden days, not really ye olden days, but back in like Super Nintendo and Genesis era, you had so many exclusives tied to each console, which gave people an incentive to actually go out and buy it. As of right now, when it comes to the 360 and the PlayStation 3, it doesn't really matter which one you buy, because for the most part, you're going to get the same products on each platform. And that's one of the things I don't really like, is the fact that there is such a large lack of first-party titles coming from both sides, really. I mean, Nintendo seems to be the only one that dominates the first-party market.
Yeah.
They've got that down pat.
And Microsoft doesn't care.
They've got first-party IPs that will always sell millions of copies. A new Mario game comes out, they could just shit one out, and people would buy it.
Hey, it's Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword version 2.
Yeah.
They're re-releasing the Wind Waker in HD on the Wii U. People are going to buy it.
I'm doing my own little research, and what we said before about the die shrinks from like 90 nanometers to whatever nanometer we're at now, which is 22.
Mm-hmm.
It took 2004, 90 nanometers was released, and then 22 nanometers was released in 2012, which means it jumped 5 times.
5 times?
5 times in the past console generation.
So from 06 to 2013, so 7 years.
Yeah, so it's jumped 5 times. Completely screwed up their train of thought.
No, it's okay, because you are bringing something to the table that has never been on an episode of PWNcast.
The tech side.
A technical aspect. Thank you. You are a godsend.
Mm.
Derek, you need to pick up the slack. You're just sitting over here like, Gabe Newell!
PC Master Race!
PC Master Race reporting in.
Anonymous doesn't play on the Xbox.
Holiday 2013, chances are I'm probably going to wind up with one. I'm still iffy on whether or not I'm going to buy Microsoft's new Xbox. That depends on what... Yes,
I told you this earlier. I really wish Microsoft had been like, hey, Windows 8's pretty cool. Let's make Windows 8 computer game console and make like 4 different kinds for price ranges, all with different sets of hardware, and one you can, and then you can be like, hey, this one's gonna be really good, and it's $800. This one right here is $800. Then you have one that's like $600. Then you have one that's more normal, $400, and then you have a really cheap one that's like $200. And they're all computers. They're on Windows 8, and that mainly focus on games.
You want to know how you lost me on your sales proposal?
How?
Windows 8. You lost me there. Not buying into that at all. Not touching
it would fit.
With a
It would
10-foot
no,
pole.
but here's the thing. It would fit the.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
It
Because
would fit the generalized
Yeah.
social gaming, like, because you can touch the screen, you can jump into Windows 7 mode, you can have, and then you can tell people, hey, it's got Office on it. it can
You
run.
could do your homework while blasting people on
But
Halo
you see
5.
my point. You see my point. Like it creates this broader product than just a quote unquote game console. It now.
And you know what? I think that's part of Microsoft's problem right now when it comes to the 360. They're not trying to make a gaming console anymore. They're trying to make an entertainment
But that's
hub.
such like a dumb. If it can't run like Windows, that's like if they just put Windows 8 in it, I wouldn't have a problem with it because then it's like it's the perfect
To be fair,
entertainment
the
stuff.
dashboard already has a resemblance to Windows 8.
Yeah, but you can't run like a mouse and keyboard with it. You can't touch it. It's just your control stick. So
yeah.
if you put like Windows 8 Pro in there and you can jump from Windows 8 to Windows 7 and start typing away and jump on the internet and and then jump back to the game.
But
Like,
you'll be forced to use Internet Explorer.
It'd be just like Windows Explorer is actually one of the safest.
No, Internet Explorer.
Internet Explorer is one of the safest.
Still runs
web
like
browsers.
shit.
Yeah, it is, but it's
Why
one
don't
of the
they
best.
just contract Mozilla and just say, I'm buying you out now, and you are going to put Firefox on my console? Then I would be more than happy.
But it would be just like having a computer, but not. You can minimize your game and open up the internet and chat with a friend, and then minimize that and open up your game, just like a computer.
And this brings up this brings up a question here from the board of directors at Microsoft. So tell me again how this is a gaming console. They're trying to sell something that is strictly for gaming.
But that doesn't work anymore.
Nintendo's Wii U is still sold out.
It's Nintendo. You're not fighting against Nintendo right now. You're fighting against Sony because most people have. I was one of them. I had a Wii and an Xbox 360. Mm-hmm. Most people had the Nintendo and then one of the other two because it's the Nintendo and it's like I want to play Mario. I want to play Zelda. I want to play Super Smash Brothers. I want to play Mario Kart and I want to play Star Fox.
You want to play all those things from your childhood.
Exactly. It's hard to compare the Microsoft and the Sony version of their entertainment game console to the Wii because the Wii and another thing was the Wii was so at the time it was like you can play tennis by swinging this remote. That's so cool. You can play golf. Like I played the crap ton out of Wii Sports because it was fun and like. I would say I'm pretty close to being a hardcore gamer. I loved the Wii for what it was. I did. I loved Twilight Princess. It was so fun.
It was better on the GameCube.
I'm
just throwing that out there.
It was fun though. I had no. It was just fun. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't like. It didn't make my heart thump. It wasn't like. I didn't get on the edge of my seat.
That boxing in Wii Sports kind of gives me a good cardio.
Like
workout.
none of those
my
things.
My arms hurt. I'm flailing at the screen.
None of those things are like super suspenseful. They're just fun, and like I have no problem. Like you're not gonna be able to compete with that with the Kinect and the Wii Move and like I'm sorry,
and the Sony Black Dildo.
The Black Dildo. Fireball! You're not gonna compete with that. So what you need to do is make something that a family of 5, a family of 4, a college student will buy that fits all of his needs. It will play video games very well. It will go on the internet very well. It will play music very well. It will connect with his tablet through Glass, Microsoft Glass, whatever.
Oh God, Smart Glass.
Yeah, Smart Glass. It can stream through all 3 of my. I have a tablet, I have a cell phone, and I have a new Xbox computer. I'm gonna call it the Xbox computer.
Okay.
I can go home. I can get on the internet, type up my paper. I can switch over to game mode and play NCAA 13 for an hour, and then I can go to hang out at my friend's house, bring my tablet, and. This is one thing that I think PlayStation has done so well, and I remember wanting to buy a PS3 specifically so I could get the baseball game, which it's crap.
MLB something or another.
MLB The Show.
Okay.
Show because you could play at home and then turn on your Vita and play on your Vita, which is so cool. Microsoft, you have the Surface, you have the Xbox. Find a way to cross-platform games.
No, you bring up a good point.
They should do that.
Why hasn't Xbox at this point made, I don't want to say that they would knock it off or anything, why haven't they made something like the Vita? Why haven't they made
well,
a
the
handheld
market-
device?
I don't think the market for handheld devices is as large as the console, and it's
Well, that's
already
just because
dominating.
Nintendo kicks everybody's ass.
Exactly,
that
and
releases
they're not. They don't want to
handheld
go in that
gaming
market.
console.
They don't
Yeah,
wanna
I
go
can
in-
see that as a
They don't want to
wise
go in a
business
market with
choice.
two very large fish already in the market fighting for food. So,
I don't know. The 3DS is outselling Vita's 13-1, so
Well-
I wouldn't exactly say it's that big of a market.
Well, I'm saying two fish in the sense of two already known brand names.
Yeah.
With the PSP, the Vita. I just feel it makes no sense to me. You have the Windows, which the next big thing I'll probably buy will be the Surface,
Mhm.
the Pro version. I will save my money because it looks really cool. It looks like I can do everything on my computer and then I can go away and do it on that. And like now, just make it to where you can do that with games. And whether that's streaming through the internet or whether it's like you can make certain games like MLB The Show is a perfect game because it's a game you can play through a dynasty mode and you can trade players and check on their stats. And you can do all that with a Vita, or you can do all that with a tablet because it doesn't require much GPU power. So tell me why, Microsoft, you haven't made a game computer and a game tablet and a cell phone that can all go together, and then my life is connected.
They're too busy trying to make sure that Hulu works
Ugh.
on Xbox Live. That's the reason why. Oh, and by the way, we're also going to charge you $60 a year so you can open an account with Hulu and pay them $10
That's another thing.
a month.
That's something I'm really excited about is when I get rid of my Xbox, I can now play on the internet free.
Yeah, that's
I can play StarCraft 2 free. I can play Rage. Is there multiplayer for Rage? I don't know.
yeah.
What game I can play? I can play Shogun on the internet for free. I can play.
It's one of the
Call of
primary
Duty
reasons.
Black Ops 2 is on Steam. I can buy that and play it online.
Yeah,
for
but you
free.
don't have a multiplayer community.
That's the only thing that sucks about the
Yeah,
PC.
yeah.
I'll give
Well,
you
and
that.
then again, the multiplayer community for Black Ops 2 is nowhere near as bad as the Wii U version, which is like 2,800 people, maybe.
But even then, I mean, you say it's a small community. As long as I can jump in a game and there's people,
Yeah.
which there will be.
You brought up
Battlefield 3.
Yeah, you brought up a reason why I recently, just kind of got rid of my 360 because it's like I'm tired of paying $60 a year so that way I can play a game online.
It is asinine, and I really hope with the new, hopefully when they release the new Xbox, they'll say that it's going to start getting free.
Yeah, and chances are what they're going to have to do in order for Live to be as successful as PlayStation Plus is mimic the business model. If you want to play your game online, you can do that. It's fine. You can play it for free. However, if you give us money, we'll give you games weekly, which is what PlayStation Plus does. Every Tuesday, there's brand new games out, whether it be for the Vita, the PlayStation Portable, PS3, doesn't matter. There's always new games for you to download every Tuesday, exclusive price drops on DLC from popular games or from popular PSN games or something like that. So I think Microsoft is going to have to eventually emulate PlayStation Plus, whether it be with the new Xbox or even they could start doing it now. That'd be great. I mean, if they were to start doing that, I kind of feel stupid for getting rid of my Xbox, but
Excuse me.
I don't know. Then again, I don't really feel bad for getting rid of it.
I think they're all missing the gun. It's now, I mean, everything is merging. I think Apple is doing a really smart job.
By not going into the gaming market?
No, of slightly just ever so. You have your iBook Pro, iMac,
Yeah.
iBook. Is it iBook? I hate Mac products. Yeah, I'm gonna piss
MacBook
everyone off.
Pro.
MacBook Pros. I don't hate Apple products. I just think they're vastly overrated.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
they
people are like,
are.
oh, I got a Mac and it's the
They
best.
are.
I'm like, I'll do everything
Yeah.
on Adobe and it's just good.
Buys a Mac, puts Windows 7 on it.
Well, and they're also vastly overpriced.
Oh, yes, I would have to agree with you on there. You are definitely paying for a name or
Yeah,
a
it's
shape.
definitely a. And look, if I had lots of money, I would buy a Mac Pro. Jesus, sorry everyone.
Well, when it comes to the profession that I'm going to get involved in, I don't care what anybody says when it comes to Final Cut Pro or anything like that. I am still not buying a Mac. to do film editing at all. You can forget it.
I still, like, if I
Yeah.
had thousands of dollars just lying around.
If I had thousands of dollars in my chateau in the country
Exactly.
of France.
I would own a Mac, and I would enjoy playing, because, I mean, they're cool machines, and I like the OS, but I like Windows more, but back to my original point, they're doing a great job of, like, you buy the phone, you buy the tablet, and you buy the computer, and now you have your iCloud, and everything's getting connected. So Windows, please, Microsoft, jump the gun, and just throw games in there, too, because that's, like, the last thing that's remaining. Like, now you have music, you have videos, you have every kind of information you can have, you have your programs, like, you have the Surface Pro will run Word, and it'll have a full version of Windows 7 on it. So the last thing you need to do is add games in that mix. And now you have three things.
You have that connectivity.
Yeah, you have connectivity over all the spectrums. I mean, I can go on my phone and check my stats on Battlefield 3 compared to other players. I can get on my tablet and play a watered-down version of an RTS game. I can get on my computer and then play the full version. And maybe it's watered down in graphics. Maybe it's just a more so menu-based game for said game on my computer. I don't know. But that's where everything's going to head. I don't know. Peace. I'm out.
Holiday 2013, PlayStation 4. Really looking forward to it. Especially since it's rumored that Microsoft is supposed to show what they're coming out with sometime in March and have playable Xboxes at E3 this year. So it's going to be interesting to see what they have in store, especially after it's very strange that Sony went first. Normally they're the last ones to the table. So they must be feeling very confident in their product if they went before Microsoft did. So I'm excited. Derek's not excited because he has Steam and he doesn't care. And Vince has a Nexus.
Yeah, Vince has a Nexus. I just got in January, I got a computer, and that's basically where my gaming has shifted. Like, for the longest time, I was on the Xbox, and I always wanted a gaming computer because I knew that they were better, but I just didn't have the money, and I finally got the money, so I just decided to spend $800.
Well, somewhere down the line, I'm going to get a gaming computer as well, but I'm not going to give up on console gaming because there's always going to be those games that you cannot get on PC.
Now, my question to you is this, Vince. With your gaming computer, what is the one thing that would make it a little better? Would be like transportability, right? Like I was saying earlier.
Portability.
His tablet can now access his files. Like, I mean, you already have Dropbox and stuff that will work on your tablet. I mean, and I guess this is more of like a call to developers to make games like that. But I just see like the Vita does it really well.
Are you talking about like having, say your TV is smart in some way and it can communicate with your computer? And it'll,
Yep. I mean, like, I wouldn't go in my family room and play games or on my. I mean, that's that, and then portability with like a tablet.
Yeah, like what you said, what the Vita pretty much does at this point
Which
between
is,
the PlayStation 3 and the Vita itself.
Yeah, and that's going to be the way of the future because it's just going to be it's going to have to be on like a local area network.
Yeah.
Or a WAN. So it will. Yeah, it's going to be the way of the future. You're going to have a desktop sitting in some dark corner and it's going to get really dusty eventually because you forget about it.
And then it grows a mind of its own. I can't do that.
It starts crawling away. Anyway, or it just kills you. Tries to kill you.
I can't do that, Vince.
Yeah.
Deleting System 32.
Anyway, so that's going to be the way of the future, I think. It's just going to be, because as you have it currently, like people just sit at their computer desks for hours on end, and when they could be sitting in front of their
or they could go outside and
flat
play a
screen
game.
TVs, large flat screen TVs.
They could get a tan and play the latest Metal Gear Solid or whatever, Call of Duty. I don't fucking know. Whatever kids play these days.
Yeah.
Vince is too busy with Free Space.
Free Space
is the shit. I really want to play that game now. Thank you. I must hunt down a copy.
Good luck. It's like $200.
Yeah, it's really expensive. Getting a physical copy, it's really expensive.
Oh, don't they sell it digitally?
Yeah, $5.
Okay, well then, yeah, I'll just get it digitally.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when it comes to PC games, I have no problem getting them digitally because, unlike the threat of Microsoft and its digital only, I don't have to be online to verify a license.
Yeah, and if you get it from Good Old Games, which is we're now plugging Good Old Games.
Oh yes, podcast is sponsored by
we're getting
Good Old Games.
So, it's DRM free, and that's one of their things that they're pretty strict on. Like, it's DRM free, and that's why we sell it.
Yeah. So, pretty cool. So, Derek, do you have any last words?
I'm part of the PC Master Race, and I'm happy about it.
You're gonna go back and play Battlefront 2 Wampas versus Rebels now?
Yes. Well, that was on the Xbox.
I don't remember it. It's been so long since I played Battlefront 2.
I had that on my computer, everyone.
I know. And it's pretty good.
Actually, I played on the internet against other people. I think it was like 1,000 people in the lobby when I jumped
Damn.
on. Yeah, it was.
Not bad. Not
Yeah.
bad at all. What
It's
about
a pretty
you,
fun
Vince? Do you have any last words?
No, I'm just gonna play on my Nexus.
All right.
We would love to hear your thoughts about the PlayStation.
We would like to hear
4.
your thoughts and
No,
prayers.
I'm serious. I will probably check the comments on this and see what people have said. I know a lot of people are probably gonna hate me for my views. That's fine. I am pretty open-minded.
Yeah.
You can disagree with me. That's fine. I do want to know what other people think about the PlayStation 4 and if they watched the conference. If we had any wrong, if we said any wrong.
Yeah, that's another thing too, because we kind of came in a little bit late. I'm sure there's going to be something or another.
And I got
that's not
my-
entirely accurate, but
I got my ass handed to me on a StarCraft 1v1. I got owned, so I was sweaty. And
I was the only one who gave a shit about the
Yeah,
conference. But that was
Vince
because
was-
I have a podcast to record.
Vince was watching porn on his Nexus.
No, he wasn't. He was looking at how to make bombs.
Yeah, he was really chemistry.
According to my calculations, this should make ice. Oh no, killer mustard gas.
Oh.
Ah! and then you told me, Danny, they're going to give you a Nobel Peace Prize because you made mustard.
No, Nobel Peace Prize, Nobel Prize in Chemistry.
Oh, thank you. I don't fucking know.
No,
I don't
okay.
care.
No, anyway, yeah, they're going to give him a Nobel Prize in Chemistry because he somehow made something out of hydrogen and oxygen. He made phosphine gas. So-
Chemistry, everyone!
Guess what? There's only one simple explanation. I'm Jeebus.
I am the Batman.
I am the Batman. So, until next week, everyone here from Podcast except for Vince.
And me.
You guys,
We'll probably never be invited on this
no,
podcast
you'll be back
again.
eventually. Once you've had a nice time out.
Later.
Totals!
PWNcast.